Sampson McCormick joins us live from San Francisco, California. He's a gay comedian and a writer who has performed on U.S. television networks. Sampson, we began this segment by talking about the higher suicide rates for transgender youth, and we heard about hate crimes disproportionately affecting LGBT people. So why do you think that is?
Well, it's really sad, and I think that it's because there is a lack of education in regards to LGBT issues, and also looking at the current political and social climate of this country, we haven't seen this amount of hatred since George Wallace ran in 1968, if I understand history correctly. And it's really sad, but it's, people aren't standing up and speaking out, people aren't being educated, and it's just really sad that we have allowed this country to be in a place politically that we are now. And I think it's because of that and the things attached to it, not being able to address those issues attached to that.
Last June, 49 people were killed at a gay nightclub in Orlando, Florida. It was the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history and clearly motivated by the gunman's anti-gay views. Has anything in the United States changed since that incident?
No, clearly not. I mean, we're still talking about violence against LGBT people. And right now, I think this should be a call for all of us to come together. We can no longer discriminate against somebody for being LGBT, just like we can't continue to discriminate against people for being Muslim. We're all being discriminated against the same way, and this is something that affects us all. Nothing is changing, and I think it's time for it to change. It's time for people to wake up and realize that if we don't, we're all in trouble.
Let's talk about marriage today. Few people are against interracial marriages. We see that all the time now. It used to be banned in the United States, but now we're seeing a push against gay marriage in many U.S. states. Some say that comes from a place of hate. What's your take on that?
Again, I think it does come from a place of hatred, but I also think that it comes from a place of ignorance. And in regards to some religion, I think it comes from a place of arrogance. If you tell someone, I don't believe in what you believe in, it's called Christian persecution, but if you say, well, I'm a spiritual person or I'm a religious person and this is how I love, then people look at you, like you're crazy. And it boils down again to just lack of education. I feel like, we see these murders, we see suicides, we were talking about suicides among LGBT youth. And it's because we live in a very heterocentric society. You look at television and you see just a smattering of, LGBT characters and protagonists on television that our youth can relate to. And I just feel like it's really a wake-up call for education and unity. That's what it comes down to.
Sampson, you keep saying education. What kind of education? Where do people go to get the information, the education that you keep mentioning?
I don't think it's just about going places, although I do think it's time for us to start talking to each other. I mean, as a comic, I go to different places where people have never seen a gay black person before. They've never had a conversation with an LGBT person before. And a lot of times when I walk out on these stages and I start talking about the experiences that I've had just living as a human being, some people are sitting there looking at me like, are you serious? I can relate to this so much. Am I gay too? And I'm like, no, you're not gay. We're just all alike. And I think that's one thing that it starts with. And then also, we need more money for these programs that do community outreach and that bring people together because, you look at some of these organizations that, perpetuate hate, that push the hatred, and they are funded very well as opposed to organizations who are in communities feeding people and getting LGBT homeless youth off the streets and all those different things, and there's not that much money to do those kinds of things.
All right, Sampson McCormick, we appreciate your perspective. Thank you for joining us from San Francisco.